we're in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation here, and it seems to be getting more uncomfortable. So
strange how we find ourselves in those.
We do this a lot. It happens to us a lot, doesn't it? It really does. So Cliff Sims, who is an acquaintance of the show and has been good to the show, and we appreciate. We've interviewed him before. He played a key role with us getting to go up to the White House, and of course, Bubba, I know you did an event that featured the president too, and when you let everybody in the build the wall thing and got him in trouble with the NFL.
Yeah, I'm afraid I got him whooped into too big a frenzy. I didn't mean to, but
well, he's whipped into another one now.
Yeah, I saw that. He's happy about Cliff and his new little book. Isn't he?
So I walked into Bubba's office one day, and we both knew this, and he said, Cliff's going to write a book about his 500 days in the White House. And he was an aide there, and then there were some other things that went on, and again, he got the president on the show, and who did his first. So we certainly appreciate all that. And when he created something called Yellowhammer News, he was always good to the show. Said a lot of things and helped. When my wife's book came out, and was very supportive of all that, and has kept in touch. And so we thought, hey, Cliff's coming out and he's got him a book, and we'll certainly have him on the show, which that's coming up when, Speedy, February 8th?
Yes.
Yeah, I went to a luncheon one day, Rick, when he was on a break, and he was sharing stories of the White House, and it was very interesting and entertaining, and it's quite a smorgasbord of folks there listening and taking it in. It was very entertaining.
Name of it, Team of Vipers. So Bubba and I, we were talking about. I said, well, I remember saying, is this some kind of hit piece on Trump? I said,
the title's kind of.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we getting into here? And you and I kind of were led to believe that it really wasn't that. It was going to talk about what it was like there. I even thought he might be luring people in,
right,
so he could give a site in there that would actually, kind of wouldn't validate some of the things that people say about Trump and. Right. And stuff like that. And
now, I know that he didn't care for two or three of the staff people, and he made it clear that he was going to be brutally honest about them.
Right.
But I didn't take it as it was going to be overtly negative toward the president. That's the way I took it. Maybe that was an error on my part.
You know that feeling that we all get when you start kind of. So we're sitting here doing the show. We know Cliff's going to be on the 8th, and we're going to have that interview, and it's going to be a blast. But Bubba and I we look up and we see like Stephanopoulos talking to him.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's
started yesterday.
Yeah, I said, okay. I said, all right. Well, the ABC's talking to him.
I think the book comes out today, doesn't it?
This would be a good chance for him to get on there. And I couldn't hear the audio, didn't know how it was going. And then came the most telling moment when all of a sudden like up here we had one thing we had Stephan. Then all of a sudden the logo of The View came up on the screen, and then there was Phil's face again. I mean Cliff's face again. Yeah. Cliff Sims. I get him confused with Phil Sims. But
the great quarterback.
Yeah, Cliff Sims' face comes up, and we're interviewing Cliff on The View.
Right.
And then you said he's been on Colbert, and there's something going on with Colbert, and we all know all these people hate Trump. And we started seeing the news stories coming out about little blips from the book and all of that. It was pretty interesting. And then came when an uncomfortable moment is solidified, and that is President Trump's latest tweet.
Speedy, do you have that tweet?
Yeah, we were. Adler had it up on Blaze TV, but we can get it again.
Share that, Rick.
There we go, right there.
You want me to read that baby for you?
There it is, right there.
All right, so Cliff Sims, here comes Donald Trump now talking about the guy who got Donald Trump on the show for us.
Okay.
Got us up to be on the Radio Row there at the White House. And now the relationship with Cliff Sims and Donald Trump seems to be strained a little bit on this book. And I think we can pretty much confirm that now with this tweet. Here is Donald Trump referring to Cliff Sims. A low-level staffer that I hardly knew, named Cliff Sims, wrote yet another boring book based on made-up stories and fiction. He pretended to be an insider, which in fact he was nothing more than a gopher. He signed a non-disclosure agreement. He is a mess. By the way, some of you on Twitter, and this happens a lot, are saying that Donald Trump misspelled gopher. He did not.
I thought that as well. I did not know this gopher.
Yeah, it's not the rodent. When you say gopher, that was somebody who goes for this, goes for that.
Yeah, I need this, I need that.
Yeah.
I didn't know GOFER was actually a word.
Yeah, that is. So the Trump did spell it correct, basically saying that here's a guy acting like he was a big insider and he was an errand boy.
That's what our president said for sure.
Yeah. Right, and
pretty much he sure did.
I think the word low life is in there as well. And low level, that was it.
Low level, yeah.
But so
he may have been thinking the other.
Right, a low level staffer, I hardly knew, named Cliff Sims.
There it is.
But so
our buddy.
Yeah. Now I will say this.
I'm going to say Cliff going back to the White House to work now probably doesn't look too good.
I believe y'all have made y'all's last trip there too, obviously.
Correct.
Because that was our end.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this though. When Colbert, they're doing this today. When he was on Colbert, he did try to say, Cliff Sims tried to say, now the things that are going with the economy are positive, but then Colbert and all them started to try to take issue with even a compliment that he said, which is the reason why you walk into that world, you know what they're doing. That's
the reason they have him on.
Yeah, Colbert is still trying to save face for making fun of the fact that Donald Trump was running and saying, please do it. And all these other people making fun of it. And he's one of the many that said he wasn't going to be the president. He's like an idiot. And so he's been trying to rebuild that ever since. Yeah. But
do you remember him backing him to run?
And then that makes you look foolish. But
they just showed it back a million times after the election.
And so you probably think if you're Cliff Sims, I'm giving benefit of the doubt. You probably think, well, I can get on these shows and walk the line of negative and positive. But what you don't understand, the minute you try to go positive on anything, they're not going to hear it. And they're going to turn it into, some of the things that have been written when that on Colbert's deal, like this billionaire thing, and Trump's a racist, and can someone produce for me, with all the flaws that I have talked about openly, we've talked about, we certainly don't give the president a pass on here. Some of you think that, but again, you must be listening in small snippets. You're not listening to the entire narrative that's been on this show. Things he does well, he does well. Things he doesn't do well, we say that wasn't. Hey, that's embarrassing, or I don't like that. I don't think that's the way it ought to be done.
Some of it's just funny.
Even some of the policies, I don't think have been all that great. But the economy and all that, and what we're trying to get done in this country needs to be done. The border and all that. But anyway, those are common sense issues, in my opinion. But this thing where he's been negative toward the LGBT community. He's been negative toward African Americans, women. Where is that?
He's
based on what? I mean, when those are things. See, this is how the left always works. If they're making a narrative about you and they think this doesn't sound good enough, it's not as negative as it needs to be, they'll just start adding stuff.
Yeah.
And and then what it gets in there, then that just starts spewing out of them. Before you know what they're talking about, they want you dead, and they're holding up your severed head, and all of that. But certainly there's flaws in Donald Trump, the human being, and there's flaws in Donald Trump, the president. But this interview coming on February the 8th is going to be different than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Cliff feels about it at this point. He's kind of, in some ways, and this is something I'll ask him about, has he become a man without a country? Because the Trump loyalists see him as a turncoat, but the libs are not taking him in either. They're just saying, well, you're just playing a game, making money. And boy, if you read some of the comments under some of these stories, they're not buddies. They're not liking Cliff at all, after this.
Well, they're saying, give us the negative and we will disregard and mock the positive. Yeah. So where have you landed? And
so it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to having him on.
Yeah, I am too. And we'll ask the hard questions, and he knows that. He wouldn't come on the show if he didn't think we would. And I think it'll be a very interesting interview.
Yeah.
Just remember, during the break, don't say anything around it, okay?
Right.
He might put it in the book.
Greg, pit of vipers.
That's right. Greg, why don't you take that day off?
Yeah. I'll just stay at the house.
Snow day, Greg.
You know me, I'll lay out.
You know me, I'll lay out. More Rick and Bubba coming up right after this.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba.